Growing up, you would find me watching Disney movies on repeat. The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, waiting for the day my prince would come, the day I would meet someone who would fulfill me, lift me up, protect me from ever feeling lonely again, and take care of me until my dying day. As I grew older, I graduated to movies like Dirty Dancing, waiting in the corner for someone to pull me up and out on stage. In short, I was a hopeless romantic. I'm sure many of you have watched similar movies, and I know many of the clients in my practice are on the quest for that elusive life partner. Yet the divorce rate is as high as ever, and many relationships end before anyone proposes. Many people wonder, what's wrong with me? How am I broken? What did I do wrong? Why can't I make it work? Why can't I find the one? What did I do wrong this time? And they end up on my office couch, full of despair, completely convinced they are so fatally flawed, they will never find love. But I suggest to you that the issue is not with them and their individual flaws, that the issue is with our collective notion of what love and romance looks like, acts like, and ought to be. And that furthermore, we are so steeped in these collective ideas of romance that we can't see the forest for the trees. And we are poorly positioned to understand what is in fact wrong with our collective ideas about love and romance. Now in private practice, working with LGBTQA folks and others who live outside the mainstream, I learned about consensual non-monogamy. How many of you have ever heard of polyamory, swinging, or open relationships? All right, a few of you. For the rest of you, the definition is in the name. It's consensual, which means everyone's talked about it, everyone's agreed to it, they know who's dating who, which makes it entirely distinct from cheating because there's no element of betrayal. And it's not monogamous, which means there's no expectation of sexual exclusivity and possibly no expectation of emotional exclusivity either. As you can see on this slide, the types and styles of open relationships varies to an astonishing degree. They range from what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas kinds of arrangements, all the way to co-spouses living together in a joint marriage. And these relationships are also more common than you might think. A recent US survey found that 1 in 5 respondents had been in an open relationship in the past year. And another survey found that half of men and up to a third of women would consider being in a relationship that wasn't exclusive. So these relationship adventurers are also part of my practice. And they are doing love and romance in an entirely different way. And I suggest that they have lessons to teach the rest of us that we can apply to our own relationships in the hopes of improving the odds of having that loving, life-giving, uplifting relationship we all dream of. The first lesson I'd like to share with you is about new relationship energy, or NRE. Recent neuroscience has shown that when we first meet someone and start to fall in love, our brain produces this powerful neurochemical cocktail that makes us feel really good, like out of your mind good. And this effect lasts for 6 months up to 2 years. Now, in open relationships, NRE is really important because they're trying to maintain an existing relationship alongside this new one that's basically giving them the equivalent of a hit of meth every time they see their new partner. But what does it mean for the rest of us? Well, for us, it means that when you first start dating someone, it's going to feel fantastic at first. And furthermore, we have no business making lifelong commitment promises while we're still under the influence of NRE, because you're not in your right mind, and you can't make an informed choice. Which brings me to my next lesson from open relationships, and that's about the value of informed choices. Because in the same way that many of us subscribe to this life partner that will fulfill us forever, we also often follow this unconscious script that we call the relationship escalator. Boy meets girl, they go on a few dates, they have sex, they start to fall in love, they have the talk and decide they're exclusive, they move in, someone proposes, marriage, house in the suburbs, kids, happily ever after, right? The trouble is, not everyone wants that relationship escalator outcome. And even if you do, you might not entirely agree on what each of these stages mean and what kind of behavior is expected. Let me give you an example. Let's go back to the talk. You've decided you're exclusive. Well, what does that mean? At a minimum, it means no one's having sex with anyone else. But that leaves a lot of other things up to interpretation. I'd like to share a story with you from my private practice. I was working with a young man who was in a long-distance relationship, and he had become close friends with a female colleague. Now, one week, he decided he wanted to go see a concert. His girlfriend lived 2 time zones away. The concert was on a weeknight. He didn't want to go by himself, so he asked his friend from work. No big deal. This is not how his girlfriend saw it. In her mind, 2 people of the opposite sex going to an event in the evening was a date, and he had committed an emotional affair. Now, some of you might agree with him. 2 friends going to see a show, no big deal. Some of you might agree with her. 2 people headed out in the evening, that's a date. That's not okay. The truth of the matter is, there is no objective right or wrong with either position. The problem is they didn't talk about it until after the breach occurred and the relationship had been damaged. These kinds of emotional affairs, where no one has had sex with anyone else and someone still feels really betrayed, show up in my office all the time. So I encourage you, when you get into a relationship, to stop and think. Get clear with yourself about your needs, your wants, and your expectations. And then go and talk directly to your partner about what you're looking for from love and romance, so that you can make sure you're both truly on the same page, not blindly riding the relationship escalator all the way to the top. And now we come to my last lesson for today from open relationships. And I am not about to tell you that you should be so open-minded your partner can have sex with whoever they want. I am about to tell you about the importance of outside interests and hobbies in your romance, in your relationships. Relationship expert Esther Perel tells us that the erotic energy in a relationship comes from the distance and the differences between us and the one we love. That the energy is born in that gap between you and your partner and your desire to close it and to be intimate. Now, if your partner is attached to your hip all the time, there is no distance and there will be no erotic charge. So when your boy wants to go play poker or your girl wants to go have some drinks with her friends, keep in mind that that time apart is good for you, it's good for them, and it's good for your relationship. In short, outside friendships, outside hobbies, outside interests are not a threat. So in conclusion, I am not telling you that open relationships are the way to go. I am encouraging you to be mindful of the impact of new relationship energy to be clear and precise in your own understanding of what you want from love and relationships, and communicate that directly to your partner. And remember that once you're in those relationships, that the times that your partner is not at your side is a good thing. Thank you.